Hello, and welcome to the Seasons Leadership Podcast, where we are committed to working together to make excellent leadership the worldwide standard.
We are going deep into specific leadership topics to help leaders make progress on their leadership journey. You can learn more at seasonsleadership.com. Hi, welcome. And today we're currently in the season of winter, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And this is all about renewing for us at Seasons Leadership. A commitment to continually refreshing our perspectives, skills, and approach as a leader. And I really enjoy this time of winter because it is a time for me to reconnect with what's important to me.
Absolutely. Me as well, Susan. And um, something that everyone may not know, but we are now entering our sixth season at Seasons Leadership Podcast. And it's amazing that time has gone so quickly. But today we're going to focus on the topic of foundational leadership knowledge. And this is the knowledge that you need to have as a leader so that you can perform at the top of your game. If you don't have this knowledge, you definitely will not be performing at the top of your game. And this knowledge is also not learn it once and you're done. You can't learn it once and forget about it. You have to consistently renew it as your environment has changes in it. Things change around you. You have to make sure you keep this knowledge fresh, which is what you talked about with winter and renewing.
Exactly. It's a reminder to continually renew. Well, this is an important topic. I know, Debbie, you and I have talked a lot about this because as we've had people working for us and with us, we've met a lot of people from a lot of diverse backgrounds, and they come into our organizations at all different levels of familiarity and knowledge of the business.
Absolutely. Some people grow up in an organization, and by that I mean they start there at a certain position and then work there for many years. Others come in at whatever level they are from the outside, from other experiences and background. And so they didn't grow up or grow into the knowledge.
Right, exactly. And so this is all about establishing a strong foundation of industry and organizational knowledge and with the mindset of renewal, because this, the world changes around us, our organizations change, the people change, and this is a constant awareness and kind of an open mindset kind of an attitude. So one of the things is knowing the industry that you're in. And this isn't theoretical. This is we both worked at the Boeing company. We were in aerospace. So it's really
Absolutely.
understanding what the aerospace industry is all about. What are trends that are happening, what's in the future. And there's practical steps you can do to learn this. There's LinkedIn groups, there's trade publications, there's people around you that you can talk to them about.
Yeah, and news alerts, things like that. And I want to make it clear to people this isn't only for business leaders.
Right.
You could be, although it's still a business, not in a not-for-profit organization. This is leaders anywhere that you find yourself. You need to know this stuff about your organization. What industry are you in? Maybe you're in disaster preparedness or disaster relief or something going on. You need to know what that's all happening about. Maybe you're in cybersecurity. Maybe you're in aerospace like we were. Maybe you are an entrepreneur. Maybe you are running your own little startup. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What matters is that wherever you find yourself, you go obtain that knowledge about the industry, what trends are happening, what's going on that may affect you, or otherwise you'll find yourself unprepared.
Right. This way you can react proactively, right? I mean, so you can see something coming and plan for it.
Yeah. And so that you can have a response ready to go when something happens or comes your way.
Right, right. The next thing is to know your organization. This could be your business, your group, your company. Um, but know what that organization is all about. What are its products and services? What is it organization structure? What is its mission, vision, and values? And what is the culture?
Yeah. And the culture, I want to say a word about that. That's not something that's easy to just go look up. What is our culture here? There may be a stated culture, but more likely you're going to learn that by gathering clues over time, by going out and talking to people, being in meetings, being observant to how things get done here, which is one definition of culture, like how things get done here. So culture may not be like the easiest thing to go find out. But I also want to mention org structure. You mentioned org structure is one of the things that you need to know. I want to tell a quick story, and nobody was harmed in the telling of this story. So
Yeah.
I'm going to keep the names private. But I was working with a person, and this person was responsible for fielding all the inquiries that came into that particular department. And one day, they left someone holding on the phone who happened to be a senior vice president in the organization. Now we're talking a large organization. This person had zero clue that the person calling in needing to talk to somebody was her boss's boss, right?
Right.
Way up in the organization. And so we took care of the phone call. But after that, I pulled this person aside and I said, you know, it's really important that you know the org structure that you're working within and what names are in those boxes, because you don't want to leave someone hanging on the line if they're in that high organizational position. The same would be true is if they were calling in from the outside and they were a customer, or maybe they were a reporter, or maybe you never know who's you're going to be in contact with or interacting with. So knowing that org structure, as well as knowing the industry, as we mentioned first, are just key pieces of information to have so that you can do your job well.
It's true. I want to harp on the org structure a little bit because I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and they maybe know their boss and maybe their boss's boss, but how the whole organization is structured is beyond them. And
Mm-hmm.
and let's face it, we're all busy, and the last thing we have to time to do is like look at the
Go
exciting.
study the org structure.
It's not very exciting. But really what it does is it shows you, who's reporting to who, but it can also give you clues on how decisions are made, how processes flow through the organization, and who's responsible for what. So as you are strategizing your how you provide value to the organization, knowing how to work within it is like the fundamental thing to know, because otherwise you're just, you're waving your sword in the air and not hitting anything. So
Yeah, and also it tells you where you are in that structure, like
yeah,
where your part of the organization is. And you have all of us have internal suppliers and internal customers, and how do you know who to work with to make things happen if you don't even know the basic structure?
exactly. And it is important to know how you and your organization supports the overall organization or business. And so, because then you can be more effective, you can really engage
Absolutely.
and be able to provide, novel or innovative ideas, and, connect people, work on your network. It's really powerful.
And then another thing in this section is really meaty, right? Knowing the organization, because knowing the mission, vision, and values helps you when you're trying to prioritize, let's say, as a leader. We all know leaders are very busy people and they get lots of stuff put on their plate. But if you have to make a decision about what am I going to work on first? Where am I going to have my team focus? What am I going to pay attention to? it gives you that true north with the mission, vision, and values. So you can say, okay, is this what I'm trying to focus on, working towards our mission and vision? Is it aligned with that? Is it aligned with our values? And that just gives you vital pieces of information to know where to place your focus.
Exactly. It also demonstrates when you know this information that you're really invested in what you're doing and what the organization is trying to do. You're interested, you're a partner in the organization rather than somebody who's just there doing transactional work.
Yeah, you're engaged, you're part of it.
Right, right. Well,
So that's that's industry and organization.
yeah.
And then a third key part of foundational knowledge that you need to have is, and we've touched on it a little bit already, is stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders for your organization, even your parent organization? And what do each of those stakeholder groups care most about? And stakeholders can be customers, shareholders, suppliers, employees, competitors, community, on and on. And it's unique to each one. But thinking through, okay, what do our customers need from us, from this organization? What do they care about? Because guess what? Without customers, you don't exist.
Right.
What
Right.
do your shareholders, if that's applicable, care about? What do your suppliers need to know from you? If you know what they're going to need to know, then you're already, as you said on a previous topic, prepared before it becomes critical, right? What do your employees need from you? And Susan, I know this part is near and dear to your heart, so I'm going to let you jump in here.
Well, I'm reminded of the Alan Mulally's Working Together Leadership and Management System and his connected culture of love by design.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, so important. It's to connect all this together and employees, and you think about that's having people who work for us and work for the organization. They're the heartbeat of everything, right? And a story about this is when people would come and work for me, the first thing I would do is say, you got to go out and understand the organization. And this is not like looking on the website or looking at a brochure. This is like boots on the ground, go in and see the products or services that we provide, touch them, talk to the people who are creating these, see what they think about them, have them tell you about what they're creating, and what they think is important or what issues they have, because that really gets you, what was the word that you used?
You internalize it.
You
You
internalize it. Yeah.
what the organization is, what it's about, what it's trying to do. And something that just came up for me when you were saying that is it also helps each of us as individuals then understand, when we're internalizing it, how it aligns with our own personal values. And we've talked a lot about that, values to a leader. Your personal values need to be congruent and aligned with the values of the organization. And if you can internalize all that to the extent where you become part of the organization, you're part of it because you're getting paid by them.
Well, and you
But
care about it.
you care about it. You
Yeah.
make it a part of what you really care about.
Yeah.
And that way you're going to show up in a much, much, much better way than if it's transactional, like you said earlier.
Right. And this is where I think the power of the connected culture of love by design from Alan's Working Together and Management System is so powerful, because to be an excellent leader is to demonstrate that authentically. This is not something that you can fake.
No. And you can start your research on the web and go in to find out things. I would say, even before you join an organization, hopefully when you're preparing for an interview to join an organization, you're going and gathering this type of knowledge foundational knowledge so that you can show up well in the interview and maybe get the job. But then also, that doesn't stop when you get the job. You, as you said, boots on the ground, you get out there, you talk to people, you interact with people, you ask questions, you learn things, and you experience things. And that way it does internalize and then becomes part of, what's really important
Yeah.
as a leader.
It's so amazing, and it's all the stakeholders to talk to, customers, suppliers, other employees, people that you work with, people you work around, that maybe you don't have direct contact with. But when you actually talk to people about this, about what they're doing and what they are working on, what I have found is that they are so happy to talk to you. They have a lot to say. So
Mm-hmm.
you really learn about the organization, what's really going on.
Yeah, absolutely. They're happy to talk to you. And then if you have all this knowledge, we haven't gone through all the pieces of knowledge yet that we consider foundational knowledge, but if you have this knowledge, this helps you as a leader also because you're better informed of what's going on. And then when you are communicating, which is so important for leaders to do with your team, with your people, you can help prioritize things for them. You can help them understand what's going on in the industry and in the environment out there. Why are we getting this particular communication coming through the organization? Well, here's why, because this is going on and this impacts us. So we call it foundational knowledge for a reason, because it should be the foundation that you build upon.
Right, exactly. The other thing, and this is a little bit nuanced, but so foundational, and it's the business model. Understanding how your organization makes money is really important, because to keep going on, you've got to keep making money.
Absolutely. And that can even be for our listeners who work in nonprofits. It can be if you are even volunteering. You have to understand how the organization that you are a part of does what it does. And oftentimes, most all the time, it's important to make money, even if it's only to cover your operating costs, right? Not all businesses are in business to make money.
Yeah, profits,
To make a profit. Yeah,
big
exactly.
profits.
But
Yeah,
they have to make money or they can't keep doing what they're doing, right? So unless they're some foundation that, is in perpetuity funded, but that doesn't happen mostly.
I don't know. Yeah, there's this is part of the business, right? You just
Right,
have.
exactly. But even let's say we could be talking to listeners who are leaders in the military.
Mhm.
And they're not in the business of making money. They're in the business of defending our country, right?
Yes.
It's still important to know that. It's important to know how they operate. And what you're saying with business model is, how does this organization do what it does?
Yes. Yes. Well, and I would even say with the military, they have funding and all of that. It's important to kind of know how that works.
Yeah, how the budgets work for them, right?
Totally. Well, and what I used to do is, and when we were at Boeing, is that this was really important. And we weren't in the position to sell and all of that. We were a support organization, but it was really important that my organization understand the company business model and how what we did either helped or hurt it, right? So what we did was once a quarter, we had somebody from finance come in and explain the quarterly earnings report to us, what it meant overall, and then how we could support it more, to do better next time, or what we could do to make it real for us. So my group was not a finance group, but so we didn't have that expertise, but partnering with finance really brought the level up of expertise for us all, and developed better leaders because of it, I think.
I like what you said there about making it real for you, because it's too easy to have something be theoretical or yeah, that's them. That's not what we do here. But in an organization, any organization, you're all interconnected. So when you pull a lever here, it affects a lever over here, right? So knowing what's going on in the organization is really important. And I love that you used creativity with your leadership in that demonstration to say, hey, we're not the finance experts, but this is important knowledge for our team to have. So I'm going to go out there and find somebody to come in on a regular basis and share with us so that we know that. And you could even get creative, like having people on your team who have different types of expertise come in and make a presentation to the rest of the team. I mean, there's lots of ways you can do it, but it all gets back to you as the leader thinking through what's important for my team to know, what's important to help us do what we do to support what the larger organization does.
Exactly. And all of this helps develop people to become better leaders themselves, right?
Absolutely. Bottom line there, Susan, that's a great one.
Yeah.
So to recap, we think there are 4 basic elements, let's say, of foundational knowledge that any leader needs to have. Really, I would say anyone in the organization would want to have. But let's just focus on leaders, since that's what we do. There's 4 pieces: industry knowledge, organization knowledge in all those different forms we talked about, stakeholder knowledge for each stakeholder, and then the business model or business operations of an organization.
Yes. And I want to emphasize here, what we are talking about is fundamental knowledge. And it's really, we focus kind of more on the business side, which is necessary for leaders, but not sufficient to be an excellent leader. Who you are is essential to being an excellent leader, and we will dive deeper into that aspect of it in our next episodes.
Absolutely, we're going to. So it'll be a continuation of this. If you've got the foundational knowledge, now we're going to step into what is your why? What's your core purpose that drives you as a leader? And we're going to be also unpacking the leadership triad, which is your mission, vision, and values, and how these elements connect to both your personal success as a leader and your team's success.
This is going to be a fun year, Debbie.
This is going to be such a fun year. Throughout this 6th season, we are going to be focusing more deeply in a lot of these different areas, because that is what our listeners have told us that they want to hear from us. And so we listened, and we're going to do that.
Right. Well, in closing, we want to encourage our listeners to approach their leadership journey as an ongoing process of reinvention and adaptation and renewal, right? And so we have a call to action. Think about what we talked about today, and for yourself, identify one actionable item from today's podcast to implement immediately. I think we have a few that we offered here.
Yeah. And if you want to be even an overachiever, you can pick more than one, but at least one actionable item from today.
Yes. Okay, Debbie, have we forgotten anything?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us. We hope you found this conversation helpful and inspiring.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this conversation helpful and inspiring. Join us next time for more conversation focused on leadership excellence.